Good evening, students. How are you all? I hope you all are good. And I guess you remember our last lecture. We studied about crop variety improvement, and I hope you all understood it nicely. Today we'll start with second topic, that is crop production improvement, or you can say crop production management. Okay, and there would be different topics that we will be covering. Okay, first again I'd like to share a ppt with you all, and then I'll start with the explanation. Okay, fine. So here the ppt is. Okay, part 2, that is improvement in food resources, farming practices. Okay, as you all know that once we have selected the seeds. Okay, we in part 1 we did like a selection of seed on different bases, like seed should be disease resistance, it should be having high yield, it should have good quality, and many more. Okay, there were different factors which we studied for improvement in the variety of crop. Okay, now we'll start with the second topic, that is crop production improvement. Okay, now how we can improve the production of crops. Okay, so here it is. If we talk about production, three things are there that we need to study, that is high cost, low cost production, and no cost production. Okay, starting with high cost production, as you all know that high cost production means the production practices in which we will have each and everything, like we'll have a very big land, we'll have all the appliances that we can use in farming, like cultivator or harvester, amplifier, and many more. Will have a best variety of seed, so that is high cost production. Low cost production, this low cost production means okay, we will use the appliances that we are using in high cost, but it would be little bit less. Okay, will not use all of them but few of them. Okay, and no cost production practices means the practicing farming or agriculture in which everything is manual. Okay, everything is done by people. Okay, will not use machineries, or will not use different appliances that can be helpful in farming. Okay, so that is no cost production. Like that depends on the farmer, the one who is doing farming, on the capacity of that farmer, he or she will be choosing like which kind of production practices they will do. So a farmer's purchasing capacity for farming inputs decides cropping system. Okay, and based on that they are divided into three types, that is high cost, low cost production, and no cost production. Okay, then we have second one, that is crop production management. Now if we want to increase our yield, if we want to increase our crop, if we want that after doing entire process of farming, we want a good number of yield, we want a good number of crops, then we have three things that we need to consider, three important things that we need to consider. First is nutrient management, second is irrigation, and third is cropping patterns. Now nutrient management. Okay, you know, as we are human beings, we require nutrients, right? If we want to perform any of the activities, or if we want to have good immune system of, or if we want our body to develop nicely, we need nutrients. In same manner, even crops or plants will also require nutrients, they will also require water. So in irrigation we'll see different techniques through which water is supplied to crops. And third is cropping patterns, that is in which manner the crops are grown. Okay, so starting with first thing, that is nutrient management. Now as I mentioned that plants require nutrients for growth, they will obtain those nutrients from air, second thing from soil, or through water. So three sources are there through which they will get nutrients. One is from air, second is from water, and third is from soil. Okay, now based on those sources, nutrients are sorted in different categories. Okay, from air, as you all know that from air we get oxygen and carbon dioxide, O2 and CO2. Plants and crops, they will get from air. Second is water, so from water they will get hydrogen and oxygen. And third one is soil. Now in soil there are number of nutrients which will be present. Now basically they are divided into two types. One is macronutrients and second is micronutrients. Okay, macro means those nutrients which are required in higher quantity. That crop or plant will require few nutrients in huge amount. Okay, so there are total 6 nutrients, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium and sulfur. NPK, calcium, magnesium and sulfur, they will require these nutrients in huge amount, so they are known as macronutrients. And second is micronutrients. Micro, there are 7 micronutrients. Okay, so those micronutrients they will require in less amount. Okay, so examples are here: iron, manganese, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum and chlorine. So these are 7 nutrients that they will require, our crop or our plant will require in lesser amount, so it is known as micronutrients. If difference between micro and macronutrients is asked in 2 mark or 1 mark question, you should mention these points. You can say macro are the one which are required by crops in huge amount, micro are required in less amount, and you can then mention the examples. Okay, then now why nutrient management is required? As you all know that if we don't eat, we will be having some deficiency in our body. If we don't take vitamins or we don't take proper carbs or proteins, we'll be having deficiency in our body. Okay, we'll feel fatigue, or like we'll suffer from various diseases, or we cannot work properly. There will be malnutrition and many more. Same way, even crops and plants, if they don't get proper nutrients, they'll be suffering from few physiological deficiency, like in reproduction or growth or susceptibility of diseases. Okay, so for that we need to give proper nutrients to our crops and our plants, and that can be done by giving manure and fertilizers to our crops. Okay, now how we will be giving manures or fertilizer, or which are types of manures and fertilizers? Now when we are talking about manure, okay, there are basically 2 types of manure. One is compost manure and second one is vermicompost manure. Okay, now compost manure is the process in which, like, waste from the farm, or like you can say animal waste or animal refuse or livestock excreta or vegetable waste or weeds, such things will be decomposed. It will be gathered in a pit and it will be kept over there for few days or for few months, and that thing is known as composting, and it will be used as manure for our crops. That is compost manure, the process in which farm waste materials like livestock excreta, vegetable waste or weeds and many more things would be decomposed in the pits. Okay, and vermicompost, worm means worm. Okay, now in vermicompost, what they will do, they will use earthworms to increase the process of decomposition in plants as well as animals. Okay, so that is known as vermicompost. It is also prepared by using earthworms to hasten the process of decomposition of plants as well as animal refuse. So that is known as vermicompost. Manures are organic. Okay, now talking about fertilizers, they are commercially produced. Okay, so we will parallelly see manure as well as fertilizers. There were 2 bifurcation in manure, so I mentioned here compost and vermicompost. Okay, now here we'll study manure and fertilizers. Now as you all know, I mentioned already that manures are the one which contains a large amount of organic matters and supplies small quantities of nutrients to the soil. In manure, the amount of organic matter means excreta of animals or livestock, or you can say plant waste or twigs or cow dung. Such things would be more, but the quantity of nutrient will be quite less in the soil. In case of fertilizers, it would be different, like as it is you can say man-made, or as it is commercially produced, the amount would be exact which we want. Okay, so it will supply different nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Clear? Then we have in manure, prepared, it is prepared by decomposition of animal and plant waste that I've already mentioned. Here fertilizers are commercially produced, okay, from the plant nutrients. Okay, now manures, they help in enriching the soil with nutrients and organic matters and will increase the fertility of soil. On the other hand, fertilizers, again, they will also ensure good vegetative growth. There will be nice growth of the crop. If we are providing good fertilizers, there will be nice growth of crop and plants. Now, manure has a few characteristics which are quite unique. Like if we are using manure, it will increase the water holding capacity in sandy soil. When we are giving manure to sandy soil, they will hold the water, though the roots of the crop will hold the water, okay, and the capacity of water holding will be high, okay. But in clay soil, when we are giving organic manure to the clay soil, what will happen? It will act as, this organic matter will act as a drainage, okay. So water logging will not be there. Water logging means holding water excessively, okay. The amount of water in soil will be too much, and because of that there would be chances that the roots of our crops may degrade or it may decompose and it will damage our crop. So in clay soil, the large quantities of organic matter help in drainage and in avoiding water logging. On the other hand, talking about fertilizers, if we continuously give fertilizers to our soil, okay, what will happen? It will destroy the soil fertility. The soil will lose its fertility, and there may be chance that the water which is present in the soil will be polluted, okay. uh, Slower in action, manures are slower in action, it takes time to decompose, okay. Fertilizers are faster in action. Here you can see this is a picture of manure and this is fertilizer which is commercially produced, okay. Next we have, okay, after management of nutrients, I would like to show you this. Okay, here I've mentioned nutrient management. So we studied nutrient management, okay. We will be giving manure and fertilizers, okay. Second is irrigation. Now in irrigation we have different kind of techniques through which we will give water to our plants. Why irrigation is needed? Of course, water is the basic necessity of all the organisms, okay, living organisms. So water is must. If we want our plant, our crops to grow properly, we need to make sure that proper amount of water is given to our crops, and for that different techniques are used by farmers, okay. So we'll see, or we'll go through all the techniques through which they are giving water or they are irrigating their farms, okay. So first one is dug well, okay. Dug well and tube well. Now dug well, you might have seen in villages, okay, or before years, okay, there were dug wells through which farmers used to pull the water from the well, and it was given to the field, okay, to the crops. In dug well, water is collected from water bearing strata, okay. There would be a rope tied with a wooden log, okay, and by pulling that rope, the bucket will be filled with water and it will be given to the field. So it was a manual technique that was used uh, in olden days, okay. Now tube well. In tube well, here motor pump would be there, okay. They will pull the water with help of pump, with help of electronic motor, okay. So that is tube well, and the water will be supplied to the field, okay. Tube wells can tap water from the deeper strata by pumps, okay. So this is dug well and this is tube well. Next we have canals, okay. Now canal system, canals receive water from one or more reservoirs or from rivers. Now you can see in the picture that there are bifurcations of canals, okay. One single canal would be there, it will be bifurcated into, that two will be divided into four and many more, okay. Now they will receive water from river, okay. So it will flow in one canal, then from that bifurcations, and it will go on and on. The main canal is divided into branches and canals having further distributaries to the irrigated field, and with help of these canals the water will reach to the fields. Okay, then we have tank system. Tank system means artificial reservoir. Reservoir means storing of water at any place, okay, at a constructed place, that are known as water reservoirs. Okay, now in tank system, these are small storage reservoirs which intercept and store the runoff of smaller catchment areas. Okay, it will be stored in a small area, okay, where the tank would be constructed, and from that place water will be given to the farm. Clear? Then we have river lift system. Now river lift system, it is mentioned river lift. Okay, so water is lifted from river and given to the farms, okay, given to the fields. In areas where canal flow is insufficient, there are places where proper or inadequate amount of water would be there, improper or irregular water would be there. Like at such places we can use a river lift system. Okay, in areas where canal flow is insufficient, they are not getting proper amount of water. Now India is a country where we have number of rivers, right? So by utilizing that water we can give water or we can irrigate our farms. Okay, water is directly drawn from the rivers for supplementing irrigation in areas close to rivers. Okay, next we have cropping pattern, third part. Okay, now fine, we have given water to our seeds or we have given water to our plant, okay, germinating crop. There should be particular pattern in which the crops should be sown or in which the seeds should be sown or the crop should be grown. Okay, now basically there are three type of things that we'll be studying. One is mixed cropping, one is crop rotation, and third one is intercropping. Okay, now mixed cropping, what do you mean by mixed cropping? We will be mixing two things, okay, or two or more things, okay, growing two or more crops simultaneously on the same piece of land. You can see here more than one breed is grown. Okay, here it is like wheat, here it is mustard. So two different crops are grown in one single piece of land, and there is no definite pattern of sowing the seeds. Okay, it will be it is not so that the seeds would be uniformly distributed in a pattern. It's not so. Okay, no definite pattern of sowing would be there, and combination of any two crops would be done or more crops would be done. Now this technique is quite useful. Why? Because the farmers will have some insurance against failure of one crop. If one crop is not growing properly or if one crop is infected by some pest or you can say insects, then the other crop would be resistant to it and it may grow nicely. So there will be reduction in the risk and gives some insurance against failure of one crop. So mixed cropping is quite useful. Okay, second we have intercropping. Now intercropping means what? Growing of one single two or more crops in a definite pattern. Okay, two or more crops would be grown in a definite pattern. Now here you can see in the diagram a few rows of one crop alternate with few rows of other crop. Here again row of other crop. Okay, then here again second, vice versa. Okay, so a few row of one crop alternate with few row of second crop. So combination of two crops would be there, but here they are grown in a definite pattern. Okay, we can see parallelly 3 to 4 rows of one single crop, and then there will be again two or more rows of the second crop. Okay, then what is the advantage of this cropping system? That is, it ensures maximum utilization of nutrients. Now you know that one crop, okay, say for example this is maize and this is soya bean. Okay, so now what will happen? One will be taking a particular nutrient from the soil and second one would be taking some other nutrient from the soil. Okay, so there would be no competition in acquiring the nutrients. Okay, their requirement is different. Okay, so it ensures maximum utilization of nutrients supplied. It prevents pests and diseases from spreading to all the plants belonging to one crop in the field. If all the crops are grown same, okay, if we are growing just one single crop, then what will happen? If this strain of crop is infected, it will spread throughout the farm. But if we are doing intercropping, okay, and if this strain is infected by any of the pest or something, okay, it will not spread to this crop because the crop is different. Maybe this pest cannot survive or it won't be feeding on the second crop. Okay, so it cannot spread. So these are the advantages of intercropping. Growing of two or more crops simultaneously on the same field, okay, in a definite pattern. 3 to 4 rows of one crop, soybean, then 3 to 4 rows of maize. Okay, so combination of two or more crops. Clear? Then we have crop rotation. Now crop rotation, in crop rotation, uh, in crop rotation, we will be rotating our crop, means we will be using different crops while farming. Okay, one year if we are using of potato family, means if we are growing potato or tomato, next year or in next season we'll make sure that we grow legumes. Okay, now why growing of different crops on one piece of land in a pre-planned succession? We should have in our mind that this time we have grown potato family, so next time we'll make sure that we'll grow some other plant or some other crop. Okay, now done for different crops combination depending on the duration. Now maybe the duration of one single crop, maturity duration would be quite short, so farmers will get opportunity to grow the second crop, so this may be useful to them. Okay, in the remaining months they can grow second one. Okay, now as you know that potato, they will use few nutrients. When second time we are growing legumes, they will fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and will be giving it to the soil. So again our soil will be enriched with nitrogen. So in next season we can grow some vegetables like cauliflower or radish. Then again when we are growing for the next time, we'll make sure that we grow some roots. Okay, so fertility of our soil will not get vanish, it will be maintained every year or in every cropping season. Okay, two or more crops can be grown in a year with good harvest if it is done nicely, if it is done rightly. Okay, so this was about crop protection management. Okay, how we will sorry, it was about crop production. Okay, how we will improve the production of crop. Now we will study crop protection management, how we will protect our crop from different uh, pathogens or different pests or insects or weeds. Now we need to make sure that we are growing different crops and there would be number of insects in the soil who would be feeding on our crops, on our plants. Okay, so we need to destroy them, otherwise what will happen, they will eat the crop and we will have a great loss. Okay, so field crops are infested by large number of weeds, insects, pests and diseases. Okay, now what do you mean by weeds? Weeds are those unwanted plants which are cultivated in our field. When we are growing our crop, we'll be giving water to them, there would be few unwanted plants that will grow next to our crop and we need to remove them, otherwise because of those weeds there would be competition in nutrients, there would be competition in the land. Okay, for space as well as for light consumption. Okay, so we need to remove those weeds from our soil. Okay, they compete for food, space and light. Weeds take up nutrients and reduce the growth of our crop, and because of that our crop cannot grow properly. The nutrients which are required by crops will be occupied or will be taken by, utilized by weeds, so we need to remove the weeds. Okay, then we have pest. Now there are number of pests which would be present in soil, which would be present on our crop. Okay, now they generally feed or they generally attack our crop in three different ways. Okay, now how they will attack, they cut the roots, stem and leaf. They will feed or they will dislocate, or you can say eat the part of our root, stem or leaf. At times there would be number of pests who would be sucking the cell sap. Cell sap means the liquid which is present inside the cell, plant cell, okay, from various parts of plants, okay? And they will bore into the stem and fruits. They will bore into means they will make a hole in stem portion, or in fruits they will go inside, they will eat the entire portion, okay? So when we'll harvest, at that time we'll feel like, okay, our fruit is quite good enough, but from inside they would have destroyed it, they would have eaten it, okay? So pest, they also bore into the stem and fruits. They thus affect the health of the crop and reduce our yield. So if we don't manage, or if we don't protect our crops from pest, there would be great loss in our yield, okay? Then we have various diseases which are infecting our crops, okay? Diseases are usually caused by pathogens such as bacteria, you can say fungi, as well as virus, okay? And this bacteria or fungi or virus would be transmitted in our plant with help of soil, or with air, or with water. So through this three things, air, water and soil, they will transmit in the plant body. You can see here, roots of sugarcane are damaged, tuber means of potato, it is damaged, late blight of potato, they will not grow properly, they will not mature properly, and that is because of infection by bacteria, virus and fungi, okay? So we need to protect our crop from diseases also which are caused by pathogens, okay? Now along with that, there are number of pests, there are number of insects, there are fungus, and there are weeds which are damaging our crops. Because of that thing, there are chances that we need to give pesticides or weedicides or fungicides to our crops, but it should not be in excess amount. Otherwise what will happen, that our crop might be destroyed very badly, it might get destructed, okay? This leaf of crops, or you can say roots, may get damaged because of excessive use of pesticides and fungicides. There might be possibility of soil fertility loss, okay? So we need to use these things, but in proper amount, okay? So which will help us to reduce the amount of pest, insects as well as weeds in the soil or on the crop. Now that was about management for production, okay? Now how we need to store the grains. As you all know that once we do harvesting, the major role of storing the grain is necessary, okay? Now we need to store grains nicely, otherwise what will happen, if little bit of infection would be there in grain while storing, it will destroy our entire yield, okay? In agricultural products, storage losses can be very high. Like factors responsible for such losses are biotic, means there would be insects, as we discussed prior, rodents or fungi or mites or bacteria, okay? They'll be affecting, or they'll be infecting our crops or our yields, sorry. Then we have abiotic components, like inappropriate moisture, or at times it happens like in home also. You might have noticed at our home, our parents or our mother, okay, she'll be storing various pulses, grains, okay, and we put various kind of tablets in it, okay, which would be quite useful to protect our grains for 12 months. So in same way, farmers need to store the yield, okay, to avoid destruction by various pest or various abiotic factors like temperature or moisture, okay? So these factors cause degradation in quality. If we will not do so, what will happen, the quality of our product will be lost, the weight of our product may get lost, okay? Like the germinability would be quite poor, okay? Discoloration of produce, at times it happens if we keep things for long years or for more number of months, then discoloration of product would be there. Okay, usually in spices this happens. Okay, if you keep for more than 12 months or 2 years, then the color would reduce or it will be lost. Okay, so this all things would be leading to poor marketability. So we need to make sure that we store our grains or our yield, our product nicely. Okay, now how we can store it? There are few things that we need to do while storing our grains. Factors can be controlled by proper treatment and by systematic management of warehouse. Warehouse means the places where this yields are being stored. Okay, preventive and control measures are used before grains are stored for future purpose. There are few things that they take care of and they store it nicely. Okay, now before storing, what they will do? Okay, strict cleaning of the produce before storage. Okay, as you all might have seen. Okay, while storing grains, okay, wheat at your home, your mother would be checking it, will be removing pebbles or small stones from it. Okay, will be applying oil on it and then will keep it in a airtight container. Okay, so in same manner we need to make sure that before storing we need to clean the yield, we need to clean our produce. Okay, product. Proper drying of the produce, first in sunlight and then in shade. Okay, uh, I would like to give an example of wafers. Okay, potato wafers. So what we do, after peeling the skin, okay, we keep it in sunlight to get dry, and then we will store it in a container and we'll keep it for further purpose. Okay, for 12 months or according to your preference. Okay, so in same manner our produce should be first kept in sunlight and then in shade, and fumigation using chemicals that can kill pests. You can see here fumigation of chemicals would be done so that it will keep it away from the pest, otherwise insects and pest will affect it. Okay, so that was all about storage of grains. Okay, we studied today crop protection management, as well as we also studied crop production management. Okay, how we will produce yield, what kind of things will take care of, nutrient management. In that three things: nutrient management, irrigation and cropping patterns. And in crop production management, we also studied about different manures, fertilizers, irrigation techniques, and cropping patterns. Okay, after that crop protection management, in that we studied about weeds, pests, as well as disease containing pathogens containing diseases or causing diseases. Okay, how we can avoid it, how we can prevent the causing, or you can say disease of pest and insects, and how we will store our grains. Okay, I hope you are clear with the topic. Okay, see you all soon for the next chapter.